What is up, everybody? It is May 7th, 2026. The U.S. and Iran trade fire in the Strait of Hormuz. Each claims the other shot first. So it looks like the pause, or, Trump pausing the Project Freedom. Well, it looks like it's not on pause anymore. It looks like we are continuing that war. Meanwhile, the Tennessee GOP House erupted today in chaos, and we're going to cover that story. And the Hantavirus is continuing to get more of the attention in the media. And we're wondering, is this more of a COVID 2.0, or is this going to be more of a actual thing that we need to worry about? We're going to cover it all. We're going to look at it all. Lots of news today. Not really huge news, but definitely news worth talking about. So let's get right into it. The U.S. and Iran trade fire in Strait of Hormuz. Each claims the other shot first. The U.S. and Iran opened fire in the Strait of Hormuz, with each side claiming the other initiated the attack. U.S. Central Command, in a statement, said its forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded with self-defense strikes as 3 U.S. Navy destroyers transited the strait last Thursday. Earlier, Iran accused the U.S. of violating the two countries' fragile ceasefire by striking multiple targets in and around the strait, a central choke point in the ongoing war. The U.S. and Iran opened fire in the Strait of Hormuz, with each side claiming the other initiated the attack. The renewal of the hostilities further imperils the two countries' ceasefire agreement, which had already been badly damaged by repeated accusations that its terms are being breached. The flare-up in the strait, the top global oil shipping route and a central choke point in the ongoing war, came as Iran was reportedly reviewing a U.S. proposal that would end the war and tee up further nuclear talks. U.S. Central Command, in a statement, said its forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded with self-defense strikes as 3 U.S. Navy destroyers transited the strait late Thursday. Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats as the U.S. ships were passing toward the Gulf of Oman, CENTCOM said. No U.S. assets were struck. CENTCOM eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes, its statement said. CENTCOM does not seek escalation, but remains positioned and ready to protect armed American forces. Earlier, Iran accused the U.S. of violating the two countries' fragile ceasefire by striking multiple targets in and around the strait. The aggressive terrorists and bandit American army violating the ceasefire targeted an Iranian tanker that was moving from Iranian coastal waters toward the strait, an Iranian official said in a translated statement to state news outlets. Iran's armed forces immediately retaliated by attacking U.S. military vessels east of the Strait of Hormuz and south of Chabahar port, causing significant damage to them, the spokesperson said, according to the reported statement. CENTCOM's statement does not mention the ceasefire, which began on April 8th as a 2-week temporary truce and was unilaterally extended by President Donald Trump. The White House asked for comment on the strikes, referred to CNBC's CENTCOM statement. So that's probably the newest, most breaking news that really just happened, 5:43 p.m., not too long ago. And then meanwhile, again, we have Reuters also covering this story. U.S. military said it carried out retaliatory strikes against Iran. So again, both sides are saying they attacked one another. Again, who do you really think attacked first? I think it was probably the Americans, right? Probably Trump and probably, or you can call it Netanyahu's Israel. New fighting breaks out between U.S., Iran, throwing ceasefire into doubt. That was 3 minutes ago. U.S. Trade Court rules against Trump's 10% global tariffs. U.S. Navy came under missile fire after U.S. attack on Iranian oil tanker. And then again, we also have the Iran reportedly saying that the United Arab Emirates is responsible for the Strait of Hormuz explosions. So this is also interesting. So when we connect this story, this is 38 minutes ago, U.S. carried out retaliatory strikes against Iran, U.S. military says. U.S. military said it carried out retaliatory strikes on Iran on Thursday, targeting sites it said were responsible for attacking U.S. forces in what it called unprovoked hostilities by Tehran. Earlier, Iran's top joint military command said the U.S. had violated ceasefire by targeting an Iranian oil tanker and another ship by entering the Strait of Hormuz and by striking civilian areas. That's key there. Civilian areas is not good. Not good at all. But that is what is being reported. U.S. Central Command eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. Covered that. So when we're looking at this story, this is pretty huge at the end of the day. Okay. And then meanwhile, 3:54 p.m., Tennessee Republicans pass a map to break up the state's lone Democratic House seat. So again, this happened also. State troopers removed people from the Tennessee House Gallery on Thursday during a special session of the state legislature to redraw congressional voting maps. Tennessee Republicans on Thursday passed a new congressional map that would crack Shelby County, home to majority black Memphis, into 3 different districts in an effort to eliminate the state's lone remaining Democratic held seat. Currently, Tennessee is represented by 8 Republicans and 1 Democrat. After this, it's going to be no Democrats, so that's kind of interesting. The state is the first to pass the new congressional map after the U.S. Supreme Court last weekend the Voting Rights Act's protections against racial discrimination and redistricting. So Tennessee's new congressional map would break up a majority of black district around. It would break up a majority black district around Memphis. Yeah, I just want to make sure I read that right. So then this is kind of what it would look like. So it's kind of interesting the way this works. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee then called a special legislative session targeting the 9th congressional district held by Democratic Steve Cohen. Interesting, Democrat Steve Cohen. Thursday's legislative votes came amid protests at the state capitol and after a walkout by Democrats. State Representative Justin Pearson, a Memphis Democrat who had been challenging Cohen in a primary, called the new district map racist tools of white supremacy. It's always white supremacy. It's like, come on. Tennessee GOP lawmakers defended the new map, saying their goal is partisan to send an all-Republican delegation to Washington, D.C. The state's primary is scheduled for August 6th. President Trump has urged Tennessee and other GOP-led states to redraw their maps before this fall's midterm elections as part of his mid-decade redistricting push. Early Thursday, Tennessee Governor Lee signed a bill that repealed a state law prohibiting mid-decade redistricting. Republican lawmakers in other southern states, including Louisiana and Alabama, are moving to eliminate other majority black Democratic-held districts in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision. Before last week's ruling, Republicans likely held a narrow lead in the mid-decade redistricting, creating districts they can more easily flip to the other side by a few seats over Democratic counter efforts. Now that lead could double to perhaps 6 or 7 seats, and that's if a pro-Democratic redistricting measure approved by voters in Virginia holds up in the state court. So that's created a lot of chaos. We're going to watch some of those clips. We also have an update from Mario Nawfal on this entire Iran thing here. Iran's military command official statement tonight: the U.S. attacked 2 Iranian vessels near Jask and Fallujah, then struck civilian areas in Bandar Kamir, Sarik, and Kashem Islands, in coordination with some regional countries. Iran is saying the U.S. didn't act alone tonight. Gulf states helped strike Bandar Kamir, Sarik, and Kashem. That's why Dubai and Abu Dhabi are now burning. Iran just told the UAE, "We know it was you." So there's some footage of that. Pretty crazy. I don't know about that Project Freedom pausing anytime soon. It looks like we are going to be continuing this war with Iran. It's going to be going for a long time. This is a forever war, and Donald Trump is pushing it, in my opinion, because he has to be compromised by Israel. Because what else is the reason? All we ever hear is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. But we also have footage of Netanyahu saying this so many times in the past. Let's go right to that clip right now. Might as well. Let me find it here. Got a lot of, these are just some of the clips that we're going to look through. Here it is, right here. So again, this is Netanyahu over the years basically stating that Iran could have a nuclear weapon and how it's so dangerous for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, even though that would be an act of deterrence because of Israel having a nuclear weapon. And it's kind of weird how the Democrats have all basically said, hey, we need to know how many nukes does Israel have? And they're calling for this to be a requirement. So that's my question. How many nukes does Israel have? What is their nuclear program? We don't get to know nothing about theirs, but we're supposed to completely condemn Iran having any kind of enrichment. They don't even have a nuclear program. They have an enrichment, and that is just deterrence to Israel.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 decades.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is just since 1967.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a day.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for
Sounds a lot like Trump, doesn't it?
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal.
Is this war really about Iran's nuclear program?
Wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year.
Sounds like Trump to me.
Within a few months.
So what is the real agenda? What is the real agenda, and why are we involved in this war? That is my question. What is the purpose in this war? Truly. Because if you ask me, I believe that this war is most likely really about the Greater Israel Project. This entire war with Iran, this is to make Iran the new central superpower and trade superpower of the Middle East. And so that is the idea here. And so a lot of this stuff is being pushed by the GOP, the current Republican Party. That is why you're seeing a lot of the Groyper movement moving towards the Democrats. A lot of people are moving towards the Democrats at this time because the Democrats are keeping Israel in balance. They are trying to go against Israel for this completely illegal siege on Gaza and Lebanon and everything that we're seeing. And so now we're at a crossroads. The Republican GOP appears to have been compromised by Israel. And that is why you see all of this movement towards the Democratic Party. Is this war really about American freedom and, securing American sovereignty and safety? Or is this really about securing Israel's sovereignty and safety and achieving their objectives of the Greater Israel Project? We've heard Netanyahu speak enough about how he would like to expand his plans to Turkey after Lebanon, after taking Lebanon, which they're doing now. They're dropping white phosphorus bombs over the skies of Lebanon, which is sulfuric acid, and these are war crimes, ladies and gentlemen. So this is something that we need to think about. Iran says it attacked U.S. Navy ships after they targeted an Iranian tanker. So again, that story is pretty much the number one trending story right now in all of this. Meanwhile, again, we have Trump giving the EU until July 4th to implement the trade deal. So that's kind of what he's looking at. Trump optimistic for a deal as Tehran yet to respond. That was 2 hours ago, though, of course. Hantavirus, the WHO assesses public health risk as low. So let's look at that a little bit. So when we look into this story, to me, I think the hantavirus completely and totally looks to me perfectly like everything we saw during COVID. This is the same script, same blueprint. That's what I think. They're trying to scare the public, and we have a lot of evidence of that. We have a lot of videos of the United Nations today that we're going to watch right in our lineup, and they're talking all about this. Actually, you know what? We'll just go to it right now since we're already on this article. Where is that clip? Right here. So we'll just drag this over here. So this is the big statement that of the UN on the hantavirus. This is from Liz Churchill on X, who's Tedros, the World Health Organization's Tedros, just threatened the world. America and Argentina leave the World Health Organization, and an incident occurs. Look at that. He begs them to reconsider because solidarity is the best immunity. Translation, rejoin our scam, or the next pandemic is on you, blackmail wrapped in a lab coat. So take a listen to this clip. This is basically what's been going viral today on this hantavirus subject. We'll be talking more about it too, but this is just a general little summary.
And any vacuum, any space which is not covered actually gives advantage to the virus. And the best immunity we have is solidarity. So because of the event that's happening now, and both Argentina and the US are affected, I think they will reconsider their decisions because they can see how important universality is for health security. Because viruses don't care about our politics.
Sounds a lot like the COVID era to me.
Our borders.
Everything we saw during then.
And they don't care about, all the excuses that we may have. So I hope this could be a good lesson for the whole world, because
I hope this could be a good lesson for the whole world.
Immunity, I repeat. Thank you.
It's like, that totally is a threat, if you ask me. And when we look at all of this happening, it's just like, come on, hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship, not part of the pandemic, not a start of the pandemic, UN Health Agency says. So again, this is their drawback on it. Might have to watch a little ad here before we can even watch this clip. Hopefully not. or it just won't even load at all, you know. Okay, we'll just go on to the article because the internet sucks. An outbreak of hantavirus on board a cruise ship is not the start of a pandemic, the UN Health Agency has said. Maria Van Kerkhove, an infectious disease epidemiologist at the World Health Organization, told a news briefing that it was not the same situation as 6 years ago with COVID-19 because hantavirus spreads through close, intimate contact. That is exactly what they said with COVID. They said, oh, it's an airborne disease. Okay, but then they said it was also spread through like initial contact and all that. Come on. Health authorities are racing to trace dozens of people. There's the vocabulary already. Health authorities are racing to trace, contact tracing, dozens of people who have recently disembarked from the Dutch vessel MV Hondius. Again, we had 2 Americans, I believe, today who actually were allowed to leave that ship, so they'll be coming back to the United States. On Thursday, the WHO said that overall 5 of 8 suspected cases of hantavirus had been confirmed. 3 people have died, including a 69-year-old Dutch woman who had the virus. Okay, so we know that these are old people who are dying, very much like COVID. To me, this is all about the vaccine that they're going to be pushing out. Her Dutch husband and a German woman also died, and their cases are being investigated. Hantavirus typically spreads from rodents, but in the latest outbreak, the transmission between people was documented for the first time, the WHO said. The luxury cruise, operated by Oceanwide Expeditions, began its journey on the 1st of April in Ushuaia, Argentina, and is expected to arrive in Spain's Canary Islands on May 10th. About 150 passengers and crew from 28 countries are reported to have initially been aboard the vessel, but dozens disembarked on the island of St. Helena on April 24th. How worried should we be about the hantavirus? At Thursday's news briefing, Van Kerkhove said that this is not COVID, this is not influenza, it spreads very, very differently. She said authorities had asked everyone to wear a mask. Oh my God, it's the same rhetoric. Wear your mask. If you care about people, you got to wear your mask. Same rhetoric, same blueprint. Oh my God. Those in contact with or caring for suspected cases, she added, should wear a higher level of personal protective equipment. At the same briefing, WHO Director-General Tedros Ghebreyesus said his organization assesses the public health risk as low. He said the first 2 people with the confirmed virus had traveled through Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay on a bird-watching trip, which included visits to sites where the species of rat known to carry the virus was present. Dr. Tedros said the World Health Organization was aware of reports of other people with symptoms who may have had contact with passengers, adding that officials were in touch with the relevant authorities. Given the incubation period of the disease, which can be up to 6 weeks, it was possible for more cases to be reported, he said. Also on Thursday, Oceanwide Expedition said 29 passengers of at least 12 different nationalities had left the MV Hondius on St. Helena, the British overseas territory. It said that the body of one deceased person who is known to be a Dutch man, was also taken off the vessel. 7 of those who left the cruise liner were British nationals. 2 of the individuals are now self-isolating in the UK, while the others have not yet returned. An update from the UK Health Security Agency, UKHSA, said 4 remained in St. Helena, and tracing efforts are ongoing for the 7th individual, who we know has not yet returned to the UK. On Thursday, Spain said discussions with the UK were very advanced for London to send reparation flights for British nationals to Tenerife after the vessel's arrival to the Canary Islands. Virginia Barcones, head of Spain's Civil Protection and Emergencies, said there were 19 British passengers and 4 crew members currently on the board of that ship. She said there was also 4 Americans on the MV Hondius, adding that the United States has shown its willingness to send a plane that will collect its citizens directly. Again, the videos just aren't really playing for me. Passengers and crew from 28 countries, nationalities of those confirmed on board MV Hondius during voyage. So the passengers are in red, the crew is in blue. So in the Philippines, pretty much all. Then it's the UK, the US, Netherlands, Spain, Germany, Canada, France, Turkey, Ukraine, Australia, Belgium, Ireland, Switzerland, New Zealand, India, Greece, Japan, Argentina, Denmark, St. Kitts and Nevis, Singapore, Sweden, Poland, Russia, Portugal, Montenegro, and Montenegro, and Guatemala. So that's pretty big. All of this is pretty big news. We're kind of looking at all of it. Health officials track dozens who left Hantavirus-stricken ship after first fatality. So when we look at all these stories, it's pretty wild. The oil markets are pretty much staying right where they were yesterday, maybe even a little bit lower. $98 is where WTI crude is sitting right now. Brent crude is at $100.10. The Murbain crude is at $96.60, and natural gas is at $2.78. Stock market today, S&P 500, NASDAQ pull back from records. Stocks pulled back from yesterday's records, and oil prices settled around $100 a barrel, with traders awaiting signs that the Middle East war is winding down. Brent crude futures paired an early slide before finishing the session 1.2% lower. The U.S. and Iran are getting closer to restarting talks to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, maybe not so much anymore after the breaking news in the past couple hours, right? With discussions possibly resuming as early as next week. We hope that happens, though. Tech stocks helped hold the NASDAQ composite near yesterday's record. NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Tesla all gained more than 1%. Shares in SoftBank, widely seen as a bet on artificial intelligence, rallied 18% in Tokyo overnight. Most other sectors were down, however, leading the Dow Industrials and S&P 500 lower. Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury yields turned higher after two straight sessions of declines. The benchmark 10-year closed at 4.393%, according to TradeWeb, from 4.354% on Wednesday. The dollar edged higher. So again, we're just going through the headlines. China signals again that Taiwan is a priority ahead of the Trump-Xi meeting. Chinese officials said ahead of Trump's visit that abiding by the one China principle was the prerequisite for a steady, sound, and sustainable relationship between the U.S. and China. So China wants Taiwan because, again, it's a big location for semiconductor processors. Okay, Senator Steve Daines, left, is greeted by Chinese Foreign Minister here, Wang Yi, during a U.S. congressional delegation's visit at the Great Hall of People in Beijing on Thursday. China again signaled that Taiwan would be a priority topic ahead of the highly anticipated summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping next week, saying that the U.S. must adhere to the one China principle for a stable relationship with Beijing. Last week, China's top diplomat Wang Yi said he hopes the U.S. would make the right choices relating to self-ruled island when he spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. China claims Taiwan as its own territory and has not excluded the U.S. the use of force to take it. Beijing has been ramping up its military pressure by sending warplanes and naval vessels around the island almost daily. The Taiwan question is at a core of China's core interests and a bedrock of political foundation of China-U.S. relations, said Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Yan Thursday. Abiding by one China principle and the three China-U.S. joint communiques and honoring the commitments made by U.S. administrations on the Taiwan questions is the due international obligation of the United States and the prerequisite for a steady, sound, and sustainable China-U.S. relationship. Such strong language so close in a time where two leaders meeting is rare for Beijing, said Arthur Xing Shang Wang, a defense expert at Taiwan Central Police University. The new language explicitly links U.S. diplomatic actions on Taiwan to Washington's relationship with China. China and Taiwan split after a civil war in 1949. The U.S. is the island's largest unofficial ally and also sells weapons to Taiwan as part of the law requires it to ensure Taiwan can defend itself. Those weapons sales and diplomatic support is a primary source of tension between China and the U.S. Separately, China's top diplomat Wang said Thursday in a meeting with visiting American senators that ties with both sides have managed to keep things stable and amid disruptions. During a meeting with members of a U.S. bipartisan congressional delegation led by Senator Steve Daines, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi credited President Xi Jinping and Trump for helping steer direction of bilateral relations at critical moments. Over the past year, China-U.S. relations have gone through many other twists and disruptions, but we have still managed to maintain overall stability, Wayne said. Daines, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and strong supporter of Trump, agreed and said that both countries should look for stability. I strongly believe that we want to de-escalate, not decouple. We want stability. We want mutual respect, he said. Daines hinted at one possible outcome of two leaders meeting next week, saying perhaps we could see more Boeing airplanes purchased, which I know would be something we would like to see. The senator also recognized China's efforts to help reduce tensions in the Middle East and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That's very interesting. I'm going to repeat that sentence again. The senator also recognized China's efforts to help reduce tensions in the Middle East and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Wonder what's happening there. He said that Wang's meeting on Wednesday with the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was proof of China's entanglement. Ahead of Trump's visit to China, scheduled for May 14 to 15, the U.S. government had been pressing Beijing to use its influence with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the where 20% of the world's oil normally flows. It was Daines' second trip to China since Trump took office last year. He previously visited in March 2025 when the two countries were locked in frictions over trade tariffs and efforts to combat illegal fentanyl trade. So that's pretty much the big story with China and what's happening with that. Now we're going to dig into some of these other pieces of content here. This is kind of what happened with the Tennessee Representative Todd Warner, and basically wore his Trump flag at the state capitol while Democrats fumed that the 9 Republicans to 0 Democrats redistricting map was passing. A psycho can be heard yelling, "Racist, racist." Tennessee did not disappoint today. Well, who knows about that? Because we have to be careful about this. This is definitely, maybe not so good for the Republican Party, actually. Because if we are voting in anchor babies like Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio, is this really, is this the precedent that we have no way to change it? There has to be ability to change it. We have a GOP that's completely owned and occupied by Israel and doing everything on behalf of Israel. And so it's like now we have no side that could actually deter that or fight against it. That's my concern with this. So they're calling him a racist. He's wearing his Trump flag. Shame. Is that all they know how to do is scream? That's Trump. Trump is shaking things up in the economy. He's shaking things up with all of it. So that's kind of what happened with that. I mean, we'll talk more about it. I guess we'll look more into it. What is the real deal with this? Okay, so we kind of looked at this a little bit in the beginning of this episode, kind of covered more of that, but again, you can look at the grok here on the screen and read more about it if you're interested. Mark Carney is an idiot. Canada backs away from a China deal after President Trump threatened Prime Minister Mark Carney with 100% tariffs. No intention of doing that with China. This is our hemisphere. China will stay out. Welcome to the Trump doctrine. I like that. And it's loading on a live stream, and it's not going to play on a live stream, of course. So we're just going to go to the next video because it's not going to load, of course, while I'm live streaming. So this is, again, from RFK Jr. RFK Jr. shatters the global order here. So we'll see about that. Let's see what this update is all about. Apparently, we'll be leaving the World Health Organization. What do you guys think about this? This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking more about that.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. On Thursday, the United States formally withdrew from the World Health Organization. We made this decision to reclaim our independence, to protect American sovereignty, and to free our public health policy from a system that no longer serves the American people. The World Health Organization has lost its way. It's drifted far from its founding mission, and it's become mired in bureaucracy, in conflicts of interest, and in international power politics. During the COVID pandemic, those failures weren't just abstract, they were deadly.
Yeah, but for the vaccines.
The world watched as transparency collapsed, accountability disappeared, and ordinary citizens paid the price.
Yep.
That hasn't changed, and it isn't improving. President Trump recognized the problems with WHO immediately. In fact, one of his very first executive orders of his second term began the formal process of withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization. It was an early decisive signal that American health policy would answer to the American people and not to foreign bureaucracies.
Good, yeah.
Today, we're completing that action. Protecting Americans here at home.
This is actually really good.
Is our top priority. And that's why my team at HHS, working closely with the HHS career civil servants.
Let me guess. Are you guys going to finally arrest Bill Gates? Are you guys going to do anything to Dr. Fauci, or are we just going to let them keep destroying the world and depopulating the world?
And scientists
Probably
and
not,
the State
though, right?
Department
That's my biggest concern.
has strengthened our biosecurity, upgraded disease surveillance,
But this is good overall.
improved outbreak preparedness, and expanded the rapid response capabilities for any public health emergency wherever it begins. We don't need outside institutions to do that. Going forward, U.S. engagement with the WHO will be limited solely to completing our withdrawal and safeguarding the health and safety of the American people.
Absolutely.
All U.S. funding has ended. All government U.S. personnel have stopped working there. I believe this deeply, that only the United States has the scale, the innovation, and the leadership to drive global health solutions that put people first, starting with our own citizens. Although we are withdrawing from the WHO, America will never withdraw from its leadership in global health. America will continue to lead. We will lead with science, with integrity, and with transparency, and with accountability. And let me say this clearly. For the Americans who died alone in nursing homes, the small businesses that were destroyed by reckless mandates, and the families whose lives were upended by unelected foreign officials who never answered to them, this decision is for you. Thank you.
Now we just need the arrest. Let's actually arrest Bill Gates now. Let's actually maybe arrest Dr. Fauci instead of pardoning them, though. You know, that's kind of my concern. Let's also take the GMO out of all of our food, maybe. That'd be a start. You know, seriously. Like, we really need to have a healthier country. Like, if we're going to be the leader of global health, then maybe we ought to, like, stop, sticking our babies with 24 vaccines. And maybe we ought to, stop, again, GMO, putting pesticides all over our food that isn't GMO. So you can't even trust the food that doesn't have GMO because it's covered in pesticides. We are like one of the leading countries and like one of the least healthy countries for food, So that's a huge problem. Like, we still have our own problems as Americans. Like, this needs to be like, even though it's great that we pulled out of the World Health Organization, I don't know why that was ever a good thing. That's just complete. It obviously didn't work out with COVID and all of that. They were trying to kill you. And if you don't believe that, you just weren't paying attention and you probably got the vaccine, And it's just like, at the end of the day, the same thing is going to happen with this Hantavirus. They're going to scare the public into trying to get this Bill Gates vaccine because this guy isn't in prison or a gulag, really, where he should be. And you're going to have all of these different things coming together, right? Not just the World Health Organization, but you'll have the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, and they'll all be coming after the United States. And again, we have so many problems with Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer, these private companies and big pharma companies that are pumping all of these vaccines and unhealthy foods, all of this stuff. We're still losing the war on health. So RFK Jr., this is a start, but in my opinion, we got a lot more to do. America is still one of the most unhealthy countries in regards to food. Okay, so here's what Alex Jones had to say a little bit on the subject of this entire Hantavirus and kind of how this all connects.
This is really the big enchilada, is the Hantavirus. I'm telling you. I told you, it's the UN grandstanding for their global UN treaty, their global health treaty to take over your life. And now there's the UN. Israel detects first Hantavirus. So it's first on a cruise ship, and now it's spreading in humans everywhere, and now it's in Singapore, and now it's here, and now it's there, and now it's in Argentina. Do they have their operatives on the ground doing false tests and reporting? Or have they weaponized Hantavirus because it doesn't normally spread human to human? It has all the hallmarks, all the earmarks, all the telltale signs of a staged event, and now you've got the hype machine kicking in. The EU, wear your mask, don't go out, lockdowns are needed, stop airline travel.
Yeah, totally.
It's all beginning
That's
again.
all you're hearing.
They want lockdowns, they want control, they want to crash the economy, and if the war won't do it, and if the Strait of Hormuz gets opened, what have I said? They'll use war, they'll use viruses, they'll use migrant flows, because it's in their own UN documents of how they're going to bring in world government to do that.
And so my biggest concern with all of this at the same time is that you also have Trump if you remember, he was a big pusher of the entire vaccine. He was a big proponent of the vaccine. He was a big, big supporter of all of that. Hold on. Didn't mean to do that. That's annoying. Let me go back to where I was. Lost my spot. Everything's so finicky all the time. So annoying. All right, here we go. Find our spot again. But seriously, it's like when you look at all of this, it's like it's ridiculous because, you know, we really have to hold Donald Trump and his feet to the fire because, again, we have to remember that he does appear to be compromised by Israel. We have these threats that are persisting in the Strait of Hormuz today, and that may very well end negotiations. We don't know, but that could change everything. And at the same time, we have to remember, during COVID, Donald Trump was a big proponent of the vaccines. You know, he was sponsoring big Pfizer. He was bringing in the guys from Johnson & Johnson and BlackRock. They were all coming in, and they were swooping in, making the profits. And so it's like, you know, Donald Trump, are you going to do the right thing this time? Are you going to say no to the vaccines that are going to be pushed and distributed for money for trillions of dollars? Are you going to choose money first over the American people? That's my biggest concern.
Then they flipped the switch with the Hantavirus. And I've studied the cruise ship. I've studied what's happening in Singapore, the EU, Argentina, the propaganda bureaus, the operations, all of it. This is 100% COVID 2.0 hysteria. The Hantavirus, if you believe the reports of how it spreads human to human so easily and how it's killing people so quickly, appears to be weaponized, appears to be gain of function, because we've studied the Hantavirus.
Totally.
It's what killed Gene Hackman's wife because she went untreated and died in the bed because he had Alzheimer's, and then he wandered around for a week and fell over with a heart attack. What a great guy. Love that guy. But the point is, I mean, it can kill you. You know, it kills 5, 6, 7 people a year in the United States, usually an Indian reservation. It's in rat and mice feces, and it's very hard for human to human. In fact, they're not even sure when you read the literature that it actually is human to human. They're pretty sure it's only rodents to human. So you basically got to ingest or you know, get some rat poop in some food you eat.
But the question is, are they putting it in your food, right? Are they spraying it over the sky? You know, this is the evil stuff that we have to think about because this is what the Bill Gates is, and this is what they're doing, Dr. Fauci. You know, they create the problem for the solution, right? Remember who created the first computer virus? It was Bill Gates. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. Bill Gates created the first ever computer virus just so he could create the first antivirus software. You know that? So it's really interesting.
Because the virus can live inside there for a while. And he uses that as a delivery system, a vector. So I'm going to be getting into that, but it has all the hallmarks, all the earmarks, all the telltale signs of a staged event. And now you've got the hype machine kicking in. The EU, wear your mask, don't go out, lockdowns are needed, stop airline travel. It's all beginning again. They want lockdowns, they want control, they want to crash the economy, and if the war won't do it, and if the Strait of Hormuz gets opened, what have I said? They'll use war, they'll use viruses, they'll use migrant flows, because it's in their own UN documents of how they're going to bring in world government to do that. Would you like me to cite where those are? There's a lot of them, but you can go to the lawsuit by Judicial Watch and Lou Dobbs, 2 different ones. In 2007, they got the documents right as my film was finishing, Endgame. We put it in the film. It's free online, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And the UN says we're going to bring in world government using disease X, probably a respiratory virus out of China, they say.
This is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what they're doing. It's the same game plan as COVID.
And collapsing third world populations, flooding the West, economic collapse, and war. So they tell you at the Rockefeller Foundation, at the UN, at the WF, how they're going to do it. That's how I know it. And in 2004 documents, the CDC's like, to create fear and train people to be in lockdowns, we'll say 6 feet apart and wear masks and close all major non-essential events. So people asked years before, how did I predict they would do all this? They see clips of me doing that. It was off of a damn government document. We've been right about the poison.
And yeah, so that's kind of what's happening with the Hantavirus. That's at least what everybody else is saying. When we look at the comments, what is everybody on X saying? Nobody was held accountable. Of course, they're going to do it again. Just for the record, I will not comply. I won't live under that type of life of suppression. To hell with that BS. COVID didn't thin out of traffic enough, so now plan B. Yep. I remember when Hantavirus was a thing a few decades ago. Since we seem to be following the same pattern, when Hanta doesn't work, they'll try killer bees again. Then acid rain, swine flu, bird flu, Ebola, and they might slip in super AIDS between those. Fear porn. Absolutely, 100%. So everybody else is on board. They're figuring out that this appears to be another COVID agenda. Here's some more footage from the Tennessee event today and how what went down with that. Let's take a listen, or just, I guess, watch. So there was chaos in the House today. And this is all about the Tennessee redistricting map. There will now be essentially 9 Republicans and 0 Democrats. I don't know how I even feel about that, though, because there needs to be, and the only reason I say that, as much as I love seeing the Republicans win, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, are these the real Republicans, right? These seem to be very much owned and controlled by the Zionists, right? We're seeing that happen at a record rate when it comes to the rhetoric and the things that are being said. So that's very concerning when we look at all of that at the same time. Okay, and we covered that. We covered this footage. Republican Representative Don Bacon comes out in support of immigration, saying the world's best want to come here, and we should find ways to bring in the world's best. Right now, our birth rate is 1.7. If we want to stay strong, we need to find a way to get great immigrants to help us maintain 2.1 to 2.2. So now this is a person who's like literally pushing multiculturalism and the integration of different races, and it's like, listen, if you're really okay with that, then you truly just disrespect your ancestors. You truly don't honor your own skin color, at least if you're white. If you're a white European. This isn't about, white supremacy or anything like that. But you do have to think about the actual statistics and the numbers. America is becoming a less white country every day. And we are losing our identity. America started off as a white European country. That's just the facts. Okay. And at the end of the day, then the Jews had come over. First it started off as, you had mainly the Brits, and then you had the Irish, then you had the Germans and the Scots, all of them kind of coming over. You had some of the Spanish, of course, and mainly all of the Europeans. You had the Italians, and then over time, you would see the Jews coming over. And then the Jews brought the African Americans over during the slave trade, which the Jews started. By the way, black people love to blame white people for the slave trade when it was actually the Jews who started the slave trade. Very known for it. Look inside of the Jewish Encyclopedia if you do not believe me. The Jews started the slave trade, and you're not supposed to know that. Okay, it doesn't meet the agenda, and so it's like, whose team is this guy playing on? Is this truly about really helping your country out, or is this actually about, cheap labor, free votes, and maybe even, changing the entire demographics of a country just because you can? What is up with this entire obsession of these globalists and elites and these Zionists, where they are trying to change the demographics of these European countries or America even, especially?
When it comes to
listen to this sick
engineering,
guy.
Math, all the things that you need to produce a high-performing stuff. But I would just also submit to you, and this is a critique of my party and some parts of my party, they have become hostile to immigration. And
yeah,
the world's best.
Have you seen what happened, dude? Look at the UK. The UK is completely conquered right now. The UK is being flooded by Muslims at a record number. And it's so bad that the people who are living there are literally taking the sides of the Muslims, total Stockholm syndrome, and hating on their own country, ripping down their own flag, completely ashamed of their own national identity. And what's going to happen? You're going to see an integration of all of that. And you're going to have a Euro-Muslim, a Euro-Arabic, a Euro-Asian really population. And you will not have the native white Saxon European anymore. You will not have the native Scotsman. You will not have the native Irishman or the native German. No. No more blonde hair, blue eyes. It'll be brown eyes. It'll be brown skin, brown hair, and they'll call themselves English and German and Irish and Scotland. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And again, America too. This is what they're trying in America. They want to truly carry out the Great Replacement and the Kalergi Plan. That's exactly what this is.
Want to come here, and we should find ways to bring in the world's best that help us with
Fuck you.
quantum computing, you name it, all the things that we need out there. So right now, if we don't have
We can do all of that ourselves.
immigration, our birth rate is 1.7.
So what he's saying is, you know, white people shouldn't have babies with each other, and that shouldn't happen. You need to bring in all these immigrants, and there needs to be an integration of the races. Fuck this guy. It's like, you know, is there no respect for your own identity anymore? Is there no respect for your own nationalistic pride? Is there no respect for your own ancestors, like what they went through in thousands and thousands and thousands of years of remaining homogeneous? Think about it. And then you have these scumbags with their millions of dollars living in their ivory towers trying to destroy everything about the heritage of a country and claiming that immigrants are so great for employment when really it is, again, about cheap labor and it is about votes. It has nothing to do with skill sets. None of these, like, again, sorry, no offense to the Indians, for example. They are not really competent or capable of working in America. You know, when it's like they're no more competent than the white Europeans or, you know, the Americans with that European heritage. We don't need you here. No offense. Nothing against you. No racism here. But at the end of the day, this is a fact. It's like, stay out of our country. We're not going to bring you over here on H-1Bs. And if you come over here, you're going to be fought and resisted. Okay? Because at the end of the day, what are you doing? Why are you coming over here? Go back to your country and make it great. You know, stand up for your own country, you cowards. And instead, you come out over here to sleep with our women and to reproduce with our women. And it's like these people, our own people, promoting this, really, so they can get elected again. That's all this is really about. Absolutely pathetic.
You need a 2.1 to break even. So
So
on
sick.
our own, we're a declining population and we're aging. By the way, China's worse. China is a rapidly declining population, and it's going to affect their...
So again, let's pick on China now, a totally homogeneous country. You know, they have, it's like literally all Chinese people. They love being homogeneous. They're their own people. They are Chinese, and they don't have a bunch of illegal immigrants coming in. Same thing with Japan. But now you have these globalists pushing this idea, not because it actually has anything to do with the quality of employment or birth rate. That's all BS. This is really about, again, free votes. It's about importing voters. It is about cheap labor.
Economy and other things significantly in the decades to come. And by the way, nobody wants to move to China, right? But they want to move to us. But if you want to stay...
Yeah, that's because we are, again, a homogeneous society. Well, not anymore, actually. We're less white than we've ever been as a country. And again, people will call me a white supremacist for that. That's okay. Go ahead. Because it's just the facts. We were like 97% white when this country started, 1776. And then now we are like 53% white, maybe less. Same thing with the UK. Okay, we are becoming the minority in our own country. That's just the way it is. And they're telling you that that's okay. We invite everybody in. Well, what happens to your grandkids? You know, what happens when you have, you know, a city council board or a president who is not even a heritage white European American or, you know, any of that nature? What happens when you have somebody from a completely different continent with completely different religion and culture, whether they might be not even Jewish, not even Christian? You know, again, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, but it's just like, again, our country is occupied by the Jews right now, they say. Well, it's like, what happens on the day when this country is being run by, you know, a city council board of Indians? And it's like, you no longer have a freedom of speech because these people don't understand that. They never, you know, read or cared to know about the history of our Constitution and the founding of our country. They never cared about the freedom of speech. They only cared about coming over to your country and occupying you and invading. And that is exactly what's going to happen with this. Eventually, you won't even recognize your country. It will look like India, where there is literally just complete dirt and filth everywhere. They are dumping trash into the waters everywhere. You look at all of these things. This is what they're bringing here. This is what they want to happen. So they think that it's going to be a good thing bringing in all this immigration. But then you see the way that the UK has been completely destroyed. It's basically a terrorist zone every single day. Same thing with France. Bombings every day. Literally a freaking war zone today. You have Sweden, okay? You have Sweden and all these different Nordic countries that are being occupied by illegal immigrants, and now they look like third world countries. They're third world countries. There's tents everywhere. Same thing in America too. You know, you have it Seattle, you have Los Angeles that are filled with drugs and needles and fentanyl and people just slouching over, and half of them aren't even American, and all of these things. And it's like they want to bring this over and say that this is a good thing. You know, you have a clean society, and you have, you know, again, a homogeneous country where, you know, you have a unity, you have a unified race, actually, and you have a sense of national pride. But now you can't have that because you have to be open to Islam and all of the Muslims. You have to be open to the other religion. All the religions are good. And that's a great thing about America. But that was meant to be limited also. You know, it was meant to be limited and controlled. And that's really the main point. So when you look at all of this, it's just horrible what these people are doing. This is pure globalism.
Great immigrants that helps us maintain that 2.1 or 2.2 area. And
Basically saying they need to mix races now. They want to mix the races.
the Reagan part of the party where this is all right. But we have a big debate in the party on this. A lot of folks don't want it, but they don't see the numbers.
Yeah, we do see the numbers, and it's because of you people. It's because of these globalists who are pushing these ideas and keeping everybody poor at the same time. And at the same time, making your country horrible to live in. You know, bringing it, the more immigrants and the more diversity we have, we've only had more terrorist attacks. We've had more burglary. We've had more crime. We've had more rapes. None of this is good for America. None of it's good for Europe. But they're doing it on purpose. They want the destruction of these countries. They want to rule over the ashes. And then you have the fools who believe that this is all about freedom. And these immigrants really think that it's about their freedom and their ability to have a better life. They don't give a shit about you. Okay, sorry, immigrants. These people don't care about you. They see you as a free vote. They see you as free labor. They want to put you they want to make you into a slave. They want to make you into a slave working in our factories and doing all of the work and basically getting paid like crap. And then in the meantime, maybe some of you will rise to power. And that's some of your thinking, but it won't happen. It's not as long as people like me are alive, at least. This man is a pure disgrace.
Declining country without the right immigration.
What a sick bastard. Let's see what everybody else had to say about this guy. Yeah, Jurors sell out. What a fucking traitor this guy is. How much he has earned off AIPAC. One person said, replacement migration. That's what he's talking about. Instead of incentivizing Americans to have more children, he wants to import third worlders to replace us. 100%. F you, Representative Don Bacon, somebody said. How about you focus on policies to help facilitate actual Americans to have more children? 100%. When you realize who is the subversive people working for it, makes a ton of sense why he says this garbage. Yeah, look at how much money this guy's taken from AIPAC. $1.29 million. So, of course, this all goes with the Israeli plot, the great replacement, the Kalergi plan, to destroy the white race. And so that way, the Jews could rule over a country of essentially what they describe as a Euro-Negroid or a Euro-Asian population. Because then you will not be able to rise up against the Jews, who will be the only white-skinned race. Seriously, this is the objective. So the Jews are working hard to fight against Christianity and really white identity. I don't know what it is about the Jews. They just truly do not like white people. It's very, very shameful. It couldn't be more obvious that we are being replaced. The white man is being replaced at a record pace and scale by your own leaders, no less. I don't think voting will save us from this. He's not seeking re-election in 2026, so he will whore himself out as much as possible before he leaves. There's officially no reason to vote Republican. I'm just reading through the comments here. Both parties are now fully and officially in favor of replacement migration. This is the war, 100%. Because only these people are making money from this. That's all this is about, is, again, $1.29 million. Okay? That's how much this guy made from the Israeli lobby. And then, why do you think that is? Because Israel is taking over America, and they're doing everything they can to destroy America. And part of the ways of doing that is by replacement migration, when we need mass remigration. And that is the solution to these people. And these people need to be literally thrown into gulags. And I could say worse things about this man, but I won't for the specific terms of YouTube. And so that way I don't get banned. But these people need to be completely held accountable in so many ways, more than what I'm even saying verbally. This is a disgrace to this country. These people are who we are fighting against. All of you are fighting against this. Unbelievable. Trump is dropping bombs on Iran, striking Bandar Abbas and Qasem Island. These are the two of the most strategic sites in the heart of the Strait of Hormuz. This is now the third time the U.S. has attacked Iran in the middle of negotiations. So again, we played a little bit of this clip earlier, but again, just for the people tuning in, this is what took place today. So every time we have a peace deal and we're getting negotiation talks going, Netanyahu calls up Trump and says, hey, you want those Epstein files to be released, buddy? No, that'd be really bad, please. I really want to have a good legacy going up for my presidency. And then Netanyahu says, well, then you are going to continue the war, and we are going to take down Iran, and we are going to nuke their entire country. And you're going to be the one who is at the helm of it, and America will be blamed later for it. That is exactly what's going to happen. It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. That is what's going on. So let's see what else is new in the algorithm. Gregory Bavino, he is the head of ICE. All issues are downstream of immigration. I saw it daily on the border. Cheap labor is the root. AI is devouring low-skill, entry-level jobs faster than anyone admits. So why import more cheap human labor or push amnesty via the Dignidad Act when robots do it better, cheaper, and with zero drama? As AI wages, AI means zero wages, zero benefits, zero citizenship, never quits, scales forever. Our kids need those starter jobs for work ethic and a future. We're ripping the ladder out from under the next generation. This isn't politics, it's basic risk management. Secure the border, reject amnesty, protect American youth first. The old map, cheap labor fights. New map, humans versus AI. Car factories are open, stop fighting over horse stables. AI doesn't care about feelings, it rewrites feelings. Seriously. Couldn't have said it better myself. Looking through the newest algorithms here, newest stories in the algorithm. Breaking volcano in Hormuz. Volcano in Hormuz. Direct naval clashes between U.S. forces and Iran's IRGC. The truce is shattered. Heavy combat reported near Qasem Island and Jask. Tehran confirms U.S. attack on an Iranian tanker met by a massive met by a massive IRGC retaliation using drones and against U.S. destroyers, the USS Mason, USS Truxton. Iran claims heavy damage and the retreat of 3 U.S. vessels. The retreat. CENTCOM claims it intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and launched counterstrikes on command centers and launch sites in Iran. Washington maintains they do not seek escalation despite the direct hits. So I guess all of that was a farce. Trump had no intention of ending the war. Maybe he did. And maybe Netanyahu, like I said before, just called him up on the phone and said, hey, you want me to release those Epstein files? I'll have my guys at Mossad do it right now, Trump. Do what we say, bitch. And then basically Trump said, okay, Netanyahu, honey, I'll do it for you, baby. And basically that's exactly what happened. And so now the war continues with Iran, and America continues to be humiliated, and we will be blamed for this entire war because Trump was a coward and decided to do some really stupid things on Epstein's island. Meanwhile, Israel settlers stormed the last fully Christian village in the West Bank, Taibeh, again today. They set up a new illegal outpost, harassed residents, and threatened to kill them if they return to their land. This is after seizing their quarry. Christian families are begging the world and the church to stop what they call as an unapologetic ethnic cleansing. Yep. But hey, the Jews are good. The Jews are great. I hear this all the time in my comment section. Oh, well, what's wrong with our greatest ally? Israel is our greatest ally. They are our greatest ally. They are on our team. They're amazing. We've done nothing wrong. And everybody always says, I love Jews. And it's like, okay, me too. But at the same time, it's like, I love everybody, but it's like, I don't love this. Do you love this? What if this was your family? You think this is okay? You think it was okay if this was your property? Would you love the Jews as much then? I don't think you would. I think you'd actually stand up against it. Maybe you wouldn't. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have the balls. Most people don't have the balls. Most people just don't want to lose their jobs, so they don't even bother talking about these things. But this should enrage you. This is what's happening in our country, or in Lebanon right now. And then it's going to happen in this country if we don't fight back and set some kind of standard against them. Just absolutely unreal. Florida just busted a massive international child pornography ring with over 1 million videos involved, including babies. How disgusting. This is a tough episode today. Just nothing but bad news in the X algorithm today. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again, Florida Attorney General said. This is sick. I'm reading the tweet from Pascal Nahadi. Over 1 million videos showing sexual abuse on minors. Many of these were babies that are being sold around the world. So again, let's take a look at this video. Absolutely disgusting. These people should be castrated and hanged from their nutsack. These are not men who do this to little children. Sorry if the audio is a little bit low. A million videos. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. If that doesn't make you want to revolt against these people, I don't know what will. Oh, crap. Hold on. I didn't know this disconnected. Stupid freaking live stream. So stupid. Of course.
Protecting our kids.
How long have we literally been frozen like this? That's so annoying. Sorry about that, everybody. If you were watching, we'll go back and watch some of those videos.
Access to the internet and social media, it allows these sick predators to more easily get access to our kids. And as I've said, my first 5-6 weeks on the job here, that's going to be a major priority.
So again, sorry that this entire thing literally froze. We will go back and we'll cover some of what we weren't able to cover before. We stopped here at this video. We'll go back up and we'll cover what we kind of missed. That's so annoying. So annoying. I hate this computer. I hate this laptop so much. So many problems with it. So annoying. So we're going to go back a couple more minutes and just show you some of the tweets that we missed. The screen froze a little bit during this live stream. Just showing you what we covered like maybe 5 minutes ago that we've been like literally cut out here for like 5 minutes. And I wasn't monitoring my screen here. So we read this tweet from Greg Bavino. If you go back 5 minutes, that's kind of what I was reading. All issues are downstream of immigration. I saw it daily on the border. Cheap labor is the root. And so you can read the rest of that. Again, and then we covered this, the breaking volcano in the Hormuz. So really, this is the entire Strait of Hormuz attack when Donald Trump said we were going to be getting into more negotiations with the Iranians. Then meanwhile, this strike happened literally just a couple hours ago. Direct naval clashes between U.S. forces and Iran's IRGC. The truce is shattered. Heavy combat reported near Qasem Island and Jask. Tehran confirms a U.S. attack on an Iranian tanker, met by a massive IRGC retaliation using missiles and drones against U.S. destroyers. USS Mason, USS Truxton. Iran claims heavy damage and the retreat of 3 U.S. vessels. So again, the retreat of 3 U.S. vessels. CENTCOM claims it intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and launched counterstrikes on command centers and launch sites inside of Iran. Washington maintains they do not seek escalation despite the direct hits. So again, this is pretty bad. The war with Iran is only going to continue, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. We also covered this about 5 minutes ago. Again, I apologize. Our screen kind of froze there. We kind of froze on that last shot for about 5 minutes. We were down. So again, we're back up now. Israel settlers stormed the last fully Christian village in the West Bank, Taba, again today. They set up a new illegal outpost, harassed residents, and threatened to kill them if they return to their land. This is after seizing their quarry. Christian families are begging the world and the church to stop what they call an unapologetic ethnic cleansing. And it absolutely is that. And again, this is my problem with everybody who's saying, well, Israel is our greatest ally, Brendan. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just an anti-Semite. It's like, no, I think these are the real anti-Semites. These are the real anti-Semites. The those who claim they are Jews but are not Jews, those who believe that Christ is burning in hell, those who believe that you can just go and steal somebody's land and annihilate their entire family, displace their entire family, and nothing gets done to you for it. And then, like, when you criticize it, that you call people anti-Semitic. No, these people are not in the right here. And anybody who thinks so is just misinformed on this subject. You know, somebody asked me the other day to cover all of the hate against the Jews. I'm covering it. These people are literally committing a Holocaust against the real Jews, who are the Palestinians, actual Semites. Yes, Jews are Semites too, Eastern Ashkenazi Jews. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing right now, imagine if this was your house. Imagine if these settlers were right on your front yard, about to burn down your house or something, God knows what, and you're just supposed to say nothing about it because, oh, it's against the law. Oh, you don't want to be called anti-Semitic. Fuck that. You know, it's like everybody who says, well, I love the Jews. It's like, well, I love the Jews too, but this is not acceptable. Okay, if they do this over there and we do nothing, they'll do it over here with no problem. What they are doing right now is setting a precedent. Okay, they're setting a precedent. And that's what we did when the Americans conquered, the Americas. We were very similar. The only difference is we actually built things up. We didn't just destroy things that were already there. There was really nothing in America at the time when my ancestors came here and settled in America. There was nothing here. There was like literally hundreds of miles of open fields. And many of the Native American tribes of those times were literally attacking each other, So there was no unity. There was no government. There was no civilization. There really wasn't like a real established form of what we see, an actual civilization that had been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So this is just an illegal, hostile occupation of the Israeli people. And Israel never even existed since 1967. Okay, so before then, it never existed. So really, we can never say that Israel is even really a legitimate state. You can't. Okay, does Israel have a right to exist? Well, that depends. Does Palestine have a right to exist? And if the Israelis are willing to say that the Palestinians have a right to exist, then I'll say that the Israelis have a right to exist. But until that day comes, no, I don't think Israel has a right to exist as long as they're going to be illegally occupying these lands, dropping white phosphorus bombs over the skies of, white phosphorus bombs over the skies of Lebanon. Man, this keeps literally freezing. This is what I've been trying to show you. Every time I try to show you this, it literally keeps freezing. My screen just keeps freezing. It's so annoying. Okay, now I'm going to go back up, show you what we just showed you with the IRGC thing, because my laptop sucks, my internet sucks, and I'm about to crash out because the stupid live stream keeps disconnecting from my screen capture. It's so stupid. So annoying. So annoying. But anyways, this is what I was trying to show you. Hopefully that's connecting now. Unbelievable. So stupid. Okay, but that is what I was trying to show you guys. Now you're kind of seeing some of that footage. Keep having to reconnect and recapture this screen because my screen sucks. So this was the IRGC, the Navy ship that was attacked, and 3 U.S. vessels had to flee. So very interesting. And again, I was just talking about this video right here. Every time I try to play this video, it keeps stopping the capture of my screen. So probably going to have to end this soon because I'm wasting time having to recapture the screen and go back. But again, I wanted to make sure that you guys are seeing this video because this is, again, what is happening in Lebanon right now as we speak. It's an illegal occupation. About 5 minutes ago, we also covered this. The Florida just busted a massive international child pornography ring with over 1 million videos involved, including babies. If you're a child predator, if you're one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again. So again, that's the tweet from Pascal Nahadi, and the Attorney General basically, in his words, had said this. You got to really listen. It's kind of hard to hear.
We will be bringing charges against 8 individuals this morning, 7 of whom are Florida residents. As a dad of 3 little ones, it's tough to talk about some of this stuff, but what these guys were doing was truly heinous. There's not a word in the English dictionary that can describe the gross content that was on the videos. Our investigators have been able to get their hands on over 1 million videos showing sexual abuse on minors.
Horrible.
Many of these individuals
So
are
evil.
babies, that are being sold around the world. The 2023 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports over 36 million instances of
36
suspected child
million.
sexual exploitation and over 100 million files related to child sex abuse material.
Did you hear that? Over 100 million files of child sex trafficking instances. These people who are doing this need to be castrated, or they need to just simply be hanged by their nutsack from a ceiling, and they need to fall on spikes, quite literally. The most evil, heinous people are the child predators and those who want to harm innocent children. There's no place for it.
And that's only what's
There needs to be punishment again.
This continues to be a problem in our country and our
There needs to be law and order.
Protecting our kids is not an easy task to begin with, and today,
Apparently not.
with the access to the internet and social media, it allows these sick predators to more easily get access to our kids. And as I've said, my first 5-6 weeks on the job here, that's going to be a major priority for my office. The individuals that are being busted today that purchase this harmful content, many of them found it through TikTok. It was available online. They found access to a portal where they could purchase
Disgusting.
dangerous material. TikTok has shown they can very quickly get stuff off their website if there's unlicensed.
Remember who just bought TikTok, by the way? Larry Ellison. He bought TikTok for $14 billion via ByteDance. Just don't forget that.
Music or something going around, they've proven with a flip of a switch they can get it off, and it's taken too long for them to get some of this pornographic material and avenues to purchase harder, more gross content. We've got to get them to be more accountable. So
there needs to be justice again. There needs to be serious punishment and consequences for these kinds of people.
In jeopardy.
There's no sympathy.
So today, these 8 defendants are being charged with multiple felony counts, including RICO, money laundering, and purchase of child pornography. Again, I can't tell you in words how gross this content is, but it shows the dangers, the evil that's out there. It is truly evil. And you've got my word that in this state...
This is what the war is, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're really fighting against.
Accountable. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again. And I hope you certainly never have access to kids again. So we will continue that fight. And I want to give a very special thanks to Rita Peters from Statewide Prosecution for leading this fight. She's going to slap these guys around in the courtroom, and unfortunately, I'm figurative in that comment.
There needs to be real violence against, like, any kind of child molester. Seriously. I mean, it's just awful. There needs to be justice and law and order. Everybody should be treated equally. Yes, everybody should be prosecuted and convicted via due process. I believe in that. But there needs to be more severe consequences for those kinds of people. There's absolutely just no tolerance for it in this country. We should have no tolerance of it. Okay, finally moving on, because, again, apologies, my screen was freezing there for the longest time. Tom Homan says, those who are saying there are only 12 million illegals in our country are full of crap. They keep using the number 12 million. I see it all the time, 12 million illegal aliens in the country. We used 12 million 25 years ago. In reality, we have no idea how many illegals are here. Oh, yeah, there's more. There's more than 12 million, Tom Homan.
They're the biggest danger to the community, but anybody in this...
How many do we need deportations, Tom? How many we need to set this country's population back to where it's actually a country of legal citizens?
40 million.
Millions. Look, they keep using the term, I see it all the time, 12 million illegal aliens in the country. We used 12 million 25 years ago. I think it's well over 20 million. So, we're going to do everything we can to arrest as many people.
I would say 40 million, dude. It's 40 million. At least 40 million.
Of course, because they're the biggest danger to the community. But anybody in this country is here illegally. We're looking for them. We're going to arrest them and deport them.
Tom, what do you say to people that say you can't logistically deport that many people?
I'll give one hell of a shot. I mean, bottom line is we're not going to give up on President Trump's promise to the American people of mass deportations. And look, we're going to do the best we can to enforce immigration law, and that's what we're doing now. We already had a record this past year. I mean, the prior record was Obama administration, and 2012. I actually got an award from President Obama for that. Of course, they don't want to admit it now. That was 409,000. We blew that out of the water, and we're going to blow
Where's the deportations, Tom Homan? Seriously, where's our deportations? Where is our border wall? You're the border Caesar. Where is it? It's not happening. Okay, it's all talk from the GOP. It's all talk from the Republicans. This is why you got the Groypers voting for the Democrats now. This is why everybody's becoming a Democrat, because what in the hell has the GOP given the Republicans? You're just supposed to vote Republican every time without even thinking about it, even though you get nothing out of it, even though all promises broken, everything is for Israel, everything's Israel first, and then you have, like, again, it's just all doublespeak. It's never the truth.
Next year. So, you know, for those who say we can't possibly move that many people, we'll see. We're going to give it our best shot and try as hard as we can to enforce immigration law, because we need to send a message to the whole world that, you know, for the non-criminals, most of them here are non-criminals, right? But we need to send a message to the whole world.
Then do it.
It's not okay to
then just do it.
Which is a crime. Not okay to ignore a judge's order. Just don't commit another crime and we're not looking for you. That's not the message we're sending. If you violate the laws of this country and you're here illegally, we're looking for you.
You're out. You should be gone. You have no right to live in America if you're just going to commit crimes. You're going to go against our own laws and all of this. It's just absolutely unacceptable in every single regard. Terrifying reality check. Scott Horton exposes Israel's psychotic Samson option. He confirms the Zionist regime explicitly threatened to drop nuclear bombs on London, Paris, and Rome if Western nations ever stopped supporting them. Washington is held hostage by a rogue state.
Abandon Israel to be
Listen
overrun.
To
It's not. Israel has threatened to nuke London and Paris and Berlin and Rome. It's called the Samson option. They said if the Western democracy...
You say you're not a crackpot conspiracist.
There's a book by Seymour Hersh called The Samson Option.
Israel wants to nuke the West.
I didn't say they want to. I said they have threatened that if the Western states abandon Israel to be overrun, that they'll nuke us too. And I'm not saying that's always been the permanent doctrine, but it's called the Samson option, and it was their doctrine, at least in the 1970s. There's a book about it by Seymour Hersh. You can pretend like you've never heard of such a thing, but everyone else watching this can just Google up the Samson option and read it for themselves.
There is no serious
That's the second time you tried to say conspiracy.
Oy vey, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. You can't say that about Israel. That's not true. It's anti-Semitic for you to even suggest that. That's what they say. But it's true. The Samson option is a very real thing. And that is the option if they don't get what they want, if the Israelis don't get what they want. And so this is the battle we're up against. Everybody talks about Iran's nuclear program. Everybody wants to talk about Iran. And it's like, actually, our biggest problem right now is Israel. Okay, you want to talk about the Iranian nuclear program? Who cares? They don't even have one. They barely have one at that. They have an enrichment program. And then you got Israel, who literally has a Samson option to nuclear entire world. But we're not allowed to talk about that. So it's like you have high IQ people who understand this, and then you have the low IQ people who watch, Fox News, and they believe everything that they're told. And it's like, we have to be able to be objective about the truth and actually what's happening, because if we don't, we're going to get completely occupied. And it's just not right. It's not good for this country. It's not good for the future of America at all. This is what's coming if we don't wake up. By 2028, Guatemala will be labeled as one of the deadliest. Oh, that was 22 hours ago. What else is new? 2 American refueling planes have collided in midair. Let's take a look at this.
Next to Iran. Now, one of these refueling... 2 American refueling planes just collided and hit each other mid-air whilst flying next to Iran. Now, one of these refueling planes took off from Tel Aviv and flew all the way over to the UAE. Now, the other one took off from the UAE. Well, they were both flying next to each other in the same pattern, clearly doing some sort of exercise. But after about an hour, one of these refueling planes issued a distress signal and then flew back to the UAE. Now, the other one then obviously left at the same time, and it flew back towards Israel, where it came from. But whilst it was flying over Saudi Arabia, it also issued a distress signal. And it seems far more than a coincidence that both of these planes that were in the same exercise issued a distress signal shortly after each other. There was not a big time gap between the two doing it. And so even though the US has not confirmed this yet, it would seem very likely that they both collided mid-air. Now, I'm not saying that they flew directly into each other at 1,000 miles an hour. Refueling planes, though, regularly fly very, very close to each other because they've got to practice their refueling capabilities with other aircrafts. And so it's totally possible that one of these refueling planes just slightly got it wrong and just bumped the other one. But with aircraft, when something like that happens, it will result in you having to make an emergency landing, and that's probably what happens. Now, neither of the aircraft crashed, so the US won't admit this, but it's still not a great look for the US. I guess you've got to learn somehow, and maybe colliding midair is the way to do that. I don't really know. All I know is that you can leave me a follow for some more global news that no one else is going to cover, because...
So again, that's kind of what's new. OMG, this is actually insane. Both guys nonstop shit talking. This is kind of some good. This is kind of some funnier drama on X that's been happening. This is Sean Strickland, and he's been fighting. What is this guy? Shemaev.
Yeah, you coach Eric takes off from you. I squeeze off your leg, man. You was tapping all the time. Up, shut the fuck up. I squeeze all juice out of you, man. You bitch. Oh yeah. Who are you talking to? It's America. America love me, bro. Nobody loves you. Oh yeah. Hey, yeah. Oh yeah. All of these guys love me. Nobody loves you. Only your daddy loves you. Let me tell you about this fucking pussy. He beats you up. I ain't gonna beat you up, too. Let me tell you about this fucking pussy. Why I call him.
This has been the drama on X today. Apparently these guys, apparently this other dude like kicked Sean Strickland or something during the face-off.
You're a fucking bitch. You'll never be a fucking American. Cry here now.
Oh boy.
You are a fucking coward.
Tensions.
Sit down, shut up. Yeah, you're a fucking whore. Sit down and shut up. Hey, don't make me call your daddy Cordero. You're gonna let him choke you out for a fucking G-Wagon. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Oh man.
That's what a fucking bitch looks like, guys. Fucking bitch. This man would suck off Cordero for a
The shit talking is like at equal levels.
You should cry now. It's not my problem.
Sean Strickland all day. Hope he wins.
I want all cars I needed because I'm rich. You poor bitch. Yeah, because you gotta be a fucking whore.
Okay. That's enough of that. I just thought it would be funny to play them for a second because it's just absolutely insane. The worst feeling I've ever felt was failing SAS selection. If you don't know the SAS, that's the Special Air Services of England, basically England's Special Forces. But I went back past the second time. Failure is a doorway, not the dead end. So again, these guys are some badasses right here for sure. That was Bear Grylls. Americans who live in Ohio are forced to vote between a Jew and an Indian for governor. The country is so fucked. I definitely agree. Who would you vote for? You have a Democrat, Amy Acton, the Jew, and then you have Vivek Ramaswamy, the Indian, who claims to represent Republicans and America, which I don't believe any of them do. And I think I would rather vote for Amy Acton because at least she's white. And she represents, I mean, you know, she doesn't consider herself white, but it's like at the end of the day, we already know what we're getting when it comes to, you know, the Jews. We already understand we have this kind of relationship. The Indians, it sets a whole new precedent that, you know, you can have a much browner candidate. And not to say that in a racist way. I'm not a racist. I have no hatred towards any race, but it does send that message. That is the point of this entire objective. And it's insulting for the GOP to give Ohio such an unqualified candidate. You know, Vivek Ramaswamy, oh, he started his own business. He's an entrepreneur. He's a capitalist. It's like, well, is he a capitalist though? Or is he just like an Indian who is not even a Christian, who has called Americans lazy on multiple accounts, wears his bare feet everywhere he goes, disgusting, and wants to carry all of the Indian heritage and their ways of life into American way of life, and that will become, before you know it, your entire presidency one day maybe. He ran for president, this guy. What happens if somebody like this becomes the president? Now we just have an Indian country, an Indian American country? I don't know about that, and I don't think it would be better or beneficial for America. Okay, sorry, wouldn't. We don't want low IQ foreigners. We don't want H-1B visas in this country. It's not right, not okay. It doesn't make us stronger as a country at all. That's all BS, because really what this is all about is importing free labor. And this guy also wants data centers. Vivek Ramaswamy, he wants data centers and AI data centers and all this stuff. That's what he's going to replace your jobs with. And the people who are going to have all the jobs are going to be these Indians that he's going to allow into the country at mass droves, hundreds of thousands. Right now, we have that number down to about 100,000, according to the new law changes. But it's going to be more. In 2027, it's going to be a lot. 20 to 60,000 right now is the number. So it's like we got to be careful where this is going. You have to understand what you're really voting for, you know? And so never Vivek. And I would encourage anybody in Ohio to vote for a Democrat this time around, because I think that these Democrats are not that smart and they're easy to control. And overall, they're easy to overthrow versus, you know, the GOP, who's trying to tame the entire voter base and make you believe that this is what the future of America should be. Indians who are not even Christians, and they have no regard for Christianity. And their people are going to bring over their dirt and their population. I mean, listen, if you've ever seen India, it's not the cleanest country. A lot of disease. They dump their trash right in their waters. It's not really, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. No offense, you know. And I don't say that out of hate, but I am saying that out of you know, research and just basic things I've seen throughout my life. So not okay. Two bad candidates. Which one you gonna pick? They like you to believe that you actually have a choice, right? Scientists and researchers have been conducting gain-of-function like research on hantavirus, possibly making the pathogen more virulent, allegedly.
Who later passed away.
So let's take a look at what this guy had to say.
In order for hantavirus to typically spread from human to human, it needs to be through very close contact, like sexual intercourse, which is generally not required for a virus like SARS-CoV-2 or influenza.
Is that right, doctor? Because I don't think the KLM flight attendant who is now hospitalized was banging the infected passenger who later passed away. So what the hell could be going on here? Could something have changed in recent years? A mutation of sorts? Maybe even a man-made one? This is a tweet from 2012 from Jason the Germ Guy Tetro, who is an immunology researcher, and he said, quote, "Overheard behind me while watching H5N1 NAS workshop today. You really want to make a pandemic, make hantavirus human transmissible." Purely hypothetical, but I think the question that everybody has and everybody wants to know is, have we been doing something like gain-of-function research on the hantavirus? Well, here's what I found. Quote, "Research into the hantavirus often involves studying viral entry, replication, and pathogenesis to develop vaccines and therapies. While much research focuses on understanding natural virus behavior, some experiments aim to enhance, reduce, or alter viral characteristics like transmission or virulence to better prepare for potential outbreaks." Then it goes on to the key areas of hantavirus research. The Andes virus, which is the one that we're dealing with right now, ANDV. Studies on ANDV, the only hantavirus known to transmit between humans, are critical for understanding pandemic potential. Researchers use lab models, including stem cell-derived organoids of lungs, hearts, and brains to study how the virus infects tissues. And then a little footnote, and this is where it gets interesting. The studies mentioned,
getting ugly out there,
published in PLOS Pathogens in 2025, are typically aimed at improving understanding of the virus rather than intentionally creating a more dangerous pathogen for malicious purposes, but they still fall under the broad definition of gain-of-function research. So no, we're not doing gain-of-function research, but we also technically kind of are. Cool.
Yeah, and that's what we're dealing with. Unbelievable. Just gets worse and worse. The times are getting sporty out there. This is not a third world country after an apocalypse. This is downtown Los Angeles, California, after Mayor Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. LA has to vote for Spencer Pratt. 100%. This is what we're dealing with today. Look at this. You tell me how much more we need illegal immigrants in this country. You tell me how much more we need less laws. You tell me how we need less drug laws and, you know, consequences for all of this. You tell me just how wrong I am about the state of the way things are. You think this is okay? I sure don't. I don't think it's okay at all, personally. I think there's a lot of problems with this. But maybe it's just me. In the U.S. state of Illinois, 47-year-old Cassandra Feuerstein was arrested on a suspicion of driving under the influence. While being processed at the station, police officer Michael Hart shoved the woman hard into the cell. Cassandra's face slammed into the concrete bench. The result was horrific: multiple fractures on her face, loss of teeth, and permanent vision of loss in one eye. Oh boy, that cop's losing his job for sure. Yikes. A titanium plate was installed in her face, When the security camera footage on the incident surfaced, it sparked widespread outrage. Officer Michael Hart, with 19 years of experience, was charged and resigned. Cassandra filed a lawsuit against the city and the police. The case resulted in a $875,000 compensation award. This incident is still cited as an example in discussions on police brutality and body cameras. Yeah. You know, so fortunately in my law enforcement career, I've only worked with some very good cops. I've worked with consummate professionals. I've worked with police officers who are very good with the public, been trained by other good cops who are very good and patient. I've never had to deal with this situation in my law enforcement career, and I'm just going to say that out front. But this is, yeah, it's definitely not good. You know, if you're out there in law enforcement, just always you got to be patient with people. You got to be extremely patient. You got to be very careful about what you're doing. Know your surroundings. Understand that anybody can sue you at any time. And, you know, you have to really be careful about what you are doing because these things can happen. And, I mean, this is, you know, it was excessive force at the same time. But at the same time, you know, I will say in my law enforcement career, I've had the pleasure of working with very good cops, and they've all been professionals with people. I've never seen anything like this, really. At least in my own career personally, I've never dealt with cops like this, where this guy was like where they did something like that. Every correction officer I've ever met was great with the inmates, and they treat the inmates with respect. At least from the ones I've worked with. So too bad for this guy. Too bad for this girl, though. More even so. But she definitely got a nice paycheck out of that. And, you know, deserving, obviously. So you got to be careful, cops. Be careful about what you're doing. Oh, my God. Twitter X is just insane with some of this stuff. Justin, Japan to tokenize government bonds on blockchain. I don't even want to look at some of these posts. Oh, boy. Viewer discretion is advised. It's getting sporty. I've obtained a video of a teen takeover event in Dania Beach, Florida, where hundreds of teens took over Dania Point Mall. Footage appears to show multiple black males beating the living hell out of two white girls. We do not have to live like this. So let's keep talking about how, you know, multiculturalism is great. We love multiculturalism, wonderful for the economy. It's wonderful for the country. Definitely, we all get along. We should definitely all be in the same society. It definitely makes so much sense when all of this is happening. Cowards. Bunch of cowards with no impulse control, as usual. Suspected behavior from these black males. Always the same. Head stomps her, as you could see. They don't know any better. They don't, you know, they just don't know any better. But at the end of the day, these videos come out on X because it is meant to divide the masses. It is meant to create civil war conditions. That's what they're trying to do with Twitter X. You know, with all of this chaos and insanity, that's what they're really trying to do, is to create the divide among the masses. You know, they want you distracted from the real enemy, which is the Zionist sect of our government, which is controlling all of this, which is creating the divide, which is doing all of it. So never forget that. Everything that I'm showing you on Twitter X here is designed to, you know, decipher the media, help you decipher the media, and to show you what's actually happening in the real news, because they're not going to show you a lot of these clips on Fox News or anything else. Okay, next story. U.S. Marines make fun of a Chinese man for waving a CCP flag on top of Mount Fuji. Marines respond with a Japanese flag.
Damn, I should have brought mine, bro. Just go say it.
What?
Where's that? Oh, you have it, sir? He has a Japanese. We need the American flag. What is that? Oh, this one's better. This one's better. Look.
The war on communism is just so much fun, isn't it? This is 1 hour ago. White House correspondent Brian Glenn quits journalism after Trump joked about hating his girlfriend.
It is a big issue with MAGA. MAGA wants you to get rid of it.
They should
Why
do
don't
it.
you do it?
Why don't they do it?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Why don't they do it?
You know why, I guess? Because they have 3 or 4 that are like hardline. The same ones that are hardline, no to everything. And if you don't have all of them, you know, we have a very small majority. John Thune's a good man. I said to him, John, just go take the vote. Let's expose who the people are. But, you know, if we got rid of the filibuster, we could vote on the Save America Act, voter ID. You know, you act so good. I love this.
Yeah, we definitely need that.
Even though I don't love his girlfriend too much, okay? I won't tell you who the girlfriend is.
What we really need is the Clarity Act for crypto. We'll check that market in a second. I forgot to check that.
But I like him, and I've always liked him. It's great that he hasn't changed. But Brian, I think here's the problem. It's not even imaginable to me why. And people are angry about it.
And so, yeah, that's what Trump had to say about that, I guess. New Florida is putting its foot down on data centers, draining state resources during a drought. So this is what Ron DeSantis had to say about it.
The ground. SB 484, this bill, I think, is the first in the country.
And it's not going to load.
Ensures that the rhetoric we hear is actually reality on the ground. SB 484 also protects Florida's water resources from data centers draining our water resources. I think most people who've been living in Florida for the last 6 months know we haven't gotten a lot of rain compared to what we normally would. We are in a drought situation. We've had to battle a lot of wildfires. There's been a whole host of things that have happened.
Oh, yeah, just natural disasters. Definitely not weather modification.
Say that somehow the water can go to data center when we need the water for our own people and for the core functions of our society. Now, in November, Florida DEP and water management districts updated their rules and policies to ensure data centers of any size have to apply for and be subject to public meetings.
No, we don't want data centers. Nobody wants data centers.
Use permit in order to tap into Florida's water resources, and that's something.
This is why he's going to lose. Nobody wants the data centers, and these politicians are just throwing it on you so they can make all the wealth. And this is coming from I'm an AI guy. You know, I respect it. You know, I respect the movement of AI. I respect the entire, ingenuity of it. But at the end of the day, we are letting it take over our lives in America, and it is going to crush this country. And then you got politicians like Ron DeSantis now, and they're pushing for these data centers in mass droves. It's like, these are Republicans. And it's like, what happened to the Republican Party? You know, they're so corrupt now. So it's like, this is why James Fishback is running for governor, and this is why he needs to win, in my opinion. Seriously. Unbelievable. This is Joe Rogan, Tim Burchett getting briefed tomorrow at 3 p.m. Joe asked, so supposedly this week is some kind of disclosure. So Tim Burchett gives his, he gives apparently there's supposed to be some extraterrestrial disclosure. Who knows how real that is? I think everybody's more worried about paying their bills right now. I think everybody's more worried about World War III, Iran, the Epstein files. I think, all of this alien talk is meant to distract from the truth and what's actually happening. These people in power don't want to give up their power. They don't want to give up control. And so because of that, you're getting all of this. You're getting the disclosure of aliens now all of a sudden.
This is the week of some kind of disclosure.
Who knows if it's
Can
real?
You give us any insight as to what's going on?
Oddly enough, I got a call that tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be briefed over the phone by, I think one of Hegseth's top dogs is going to go over some stuff with me that they've got, and I have no earthly idea. I don't want everybody to get their hopes up. I don't have a lot of faith in our government. President Trump's always been great to me. He's never lied to me, but I don't know that he knows the right questions to ask and the right people to talk to, because, this thing's been covered up at least since 1947, and I just don't think they're going to.
He's talking about Roswell, New Mexico,
that easy.
The Roswell
The
UFO
pimps,
crash.
the Pentagon and everybody else, they just don't give up that easy.
How this is the week of
So who knows if the alien disclosure is even real or not? There was always a project known as Project Bluebeam where they would basically host this entire fake alien invasion to really cover up for all of these elites who are committing a bunch of crimes. So that way the elites don't have to go to jail for a lot of the stuff they've been doing. Okay. Here's some more footage from the Tennessee House today. Tennessee State Rep Justin. Look at this. So this is a representative of Congress, and he's about to fight the cops. Okay. Do you think this is how a congressman should act? A representative of your country's government? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know about that. What's up with the, it's just always chimping out. Just chimping out.
What is wrong with you?
Chimping out. Come on. You know, and I say that out of love. You know, I have no racism towards black people, but it's like, come on, behave. Stop acting like children. ADL demands $1 billion from U.S. taxpayers for security under the Nonprofit Security Grant Program, despite the number of anti-Semitic incidents they record falling by 33% in 1 year. Taxpayers are going to be fleeced for $300 million in 2026. They want $1 billion. So this is...
Right now, we are calling...
So as everybody says, Israel is our greatest ally. We can't be mad at Israel. This is what they're doing to you.
We helped secure a $30 million increase for the Nonprofit Security Grant Program for the fiscal year 2026. That funding is critical. It supports the security cameras outside of your synagogue, the trained guard at the JCC door, the reinforced entrance at your day school.
Yeah,
but
you're
we're
welcome.
not done. Right now, we are calling...
You're welcome that our taxes are paying for it for your people.
Calling on Congress to fund a program, the program at $1 billion, because demand continues to outpace the funding, leaving thousands of applicants without the support that they need. Now, you heard mention of buffer zone legislation in New York City and a push for a federal version. The Sacred Act would establish a 100-foot
These people are so anti-American, and so many people just want to believe that it's not true.
Around houses of worship nationwide, protecting people for the right to pray without being blocked, harassed, or intimidated at the door. We're urging Congress to pass it now.
Why do I feel like that's only for synagogues and Muslims, and somehow the Christians are going to be left out?
Also taking this fight into the corporate arena. Our affiliate, JLens, has filed shareholder proposals pushing for accountability on anti-Semitism and hate at major platforms like Meta, and has already drawn significant investor support.
This is the war.
Because anti-Semitism carries consequences in the boardroom too.
Anti-Semitism, don't forget, is anytime you question Israel at all. Any kind of questioning of Israel, that's anti-Semitism to them.
And we intend to make that case clearly.
Yeah, you definitely are, but you know, you're going to fail. And that is one of the worst things we're seeing in this country today. Horrible. Nick Shirley just revealed the strangest answer he got from a Cuban. Yeah, I don't really know about all of this. So this is all Cuban propaganda. So this is propaganda for, you know, taking Cuba. I think Nick Shirley's probably CIA most likely, or he's being used by the CIA at the moment. You know, really, I think this is all about, you know, the Monroe Doctrine and Trump's ambitions to take Cuba. So we're just going to move on from that. DOJ has indicted a Jewish group accused of organizing a large-scale, decade-long insider trading scheme that netted tens of millions of dollars in illicit profits. The alleged scheme involved 30 people, one of whom already appears to have fled to Israel. The defendants, who include corporate attorneys and other financial professionals, are alleged to have stolen and used confidential information on nearly 30 merger and acquisition deals from several of the nation's premier law firms, including a firm headquartered in Massachusetts, the DOJ says. One of those indicted is a Dave Bratzlavsky, a tech entrepreneur who served as executive director of the U.S.-Israel Business Council and as an associate for policy and planning at the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, is alleged to have traded on insider information and then provided kickbacks to Nicolo Norfachin, head of the operation of the College Friend, JNS reports. So let's take a listen to this.
Goals. Yes,
It explains it more in depth
shared
here.
Spaces. Let me ask you, how many of us felt a sense of pride knowing that so many Nobel Prize winners are Jewish? How many of us felt a sense of unease when the Bernie Madoff scandal broke out? Why is that? It's because we instinctively know that we rise together and we fall together, that whether we like it or not, we're all in the same boat. And that means we have to help each other, give to each other, give to fellow Jews, to all kinds of Jews. Let's make it a habit. I'm not under the illusion that we're going to solve all our differences today. But that's not the point. The point is to focus on what we share. We all move in different circles. It's up to you and me, each and every one of us, to find out how those circles overlap and create opportunities for unity. There's no limit to what you can do if you get into the habit of saying it's up to me. So I ask you, Can we expand our definition of us? Who fits into our community? Yes.
Interesting.
Can we teach this
so really,
value
this
to our
seems
children?
like
Yes.
this is the
Can we
group that was
focus on-
behind all of this. Very, very weird. Interesting. Insider trading. It's all happening. Your country's getting occupied as you like right before your eyes. 1 hour ago, 323 vials containing deadly viruses, including Hantavirus, reported missing from Australia lab in 2024 after major biosecurity breach. So 2 years ago, this was basically already being reported.
Record-keeping bodies and
now we know why.
Accreditation bodies, as well as with our own Department of Agriculture. It has.
So that's pretty much all the news for today. We'll look at more of this tomorrow. Doesn't look like there's anything new with the Strait of Hormuz, anything new at the moment at least. But at the end of the day, this is what we are dealing with. This is the war. We are seeing troops all over the country or all over the planet basically suffering the consequences of this. This is the state of affairs in 2026. This is where we're at. This is where we stand. And to cap it off, just never forget, this is the psychology of the Israelis and the Zionists today. No, I don't know, and I still don't have sharp arguments with him. Right? I still think that this war must end with a change in the borders of the state of Israel, both in the West Bank and in Lebanon and in Syria, of course, in Judea and Samaria. By the way, the security lesson that was given on October 11th is that we cannot allow such restrictions to be meted on the border. Ben Netanyahu doesn't think like you. This is a picture. The fact that he is not doing it right now, and I, with 7 seats, am trying to hide as much as I can in this war. I have a very large influence on the war, relatively speaking, but I am the prime minister. If it were up to me, I would have given up long ago. If it were up to me, we would have given up long ago. Yes, I think he is good. I think that the ability to burn the peace, the price of loss, and mistaken against our enemies in terms of consciousness doesn't matter to us. How many of us kill them with cables or how many bombs we shoot at them, they don't care. What they care about is that we will take their territory. If they say that, whoever messes with us loses, and then it will be much smaller. Now, how much more should we do with the immigration out? And if Lebanon will be smaller, but this is, yeah. So this is what we're dealing with. This is the war that's happening before your eyes. A lot more news that broke out today, but we're going to look at more tomorrow. Data centers, Strait of Hormuz, under attack, no peace negotiations. That's pretty much where we're at. Ladies and gentlemen, stay prudent, stay powerful, stay wealthy, stay safe, and God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.